Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for your daily dose of Dungeons and Dragons and drama.
Okay.
See what I did there?
Very nice.
That's the 5 Ds. We got 5 Ds.
Daily dose, yes.
Daily
that's
dose
5D.
of Dungeons and Dragons drama. Yeah,
I
we're
was
gonna
like Dungeons and Dragons drama. DnD drama.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the situation with TSR games. We're gonna follow up on a video we did the other day about TSR games getting dogpiled on Twitter because they basically wouldn't give a statement that they thought they should give to Twitter, and it's escalated. It turns out that Gen Con, the biggest tabletop role-playing game convention, founded by TSR founder Gary Gygax, has now banned TSR games, which is headed up by Gary Gygax's son, Ernie Gygax.
Yes.
You can't make this up.
I'm not surprised. I'm more surprised that you're surprised.
I'm not surprised. I even said I'm not surprised.
Oh, okay. I didn't see this.
I wish I could be. Now we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about how the Twitter outrage mob works. And I gotta wonder, given the players involved, no pun intended, if this wasn't sort of pre-planned. Like,
basically what you're saying is, we're not saying it's Wizards of the Coast, but Wizards of the Coast owns Gen Con.
That is true. And who would be threatened by the return of TSR games with a lot of the OG staff, Wizards of the Coast? Why they should
Could be coincidental.
It could totally be a coincidence.
Oh, we're not saying that that's the case, but
we're just a bunch of YouTubers. We don't know what we're talking about.
The quacks like a duck,
Roll to see if that duck quacked. Anyway, we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 202,000 subs. Thank you for the support. As of recording this video, nobody else is talking about it because this just went down like last night. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to backpedal here a little bit and talk about what is going on with TSR games. They announced, it was just a week or two ago, that they were coming back. Mm-hmm. Okay, now there's kind of a confusion, I guess, with TSR games. There is another TSR games that has been using TSR for, I think it's a top secret role-playing game, and they apparently license it off of this TSR. Now, this TSR is actually Ernie Gygax and a few other people from the original TSR Inc., which created Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. Ernie Gygax's father, Gary Gygax, created Dungeons and Dragons. So if I had to look at the, bloodline of TSR versus TSR, I would say this one, given the people that are involved, probably is more of a direct descendant, literally speaking in some ways, of the original TSR than the other TSR. But neither one of them are the original company. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's really confusing. But I think
this would be the spiritual successor of the actual TSR.
Yes, I think that's the best way of putting it. This would be, if TSR was Xenogears, these guys are Xenosaga. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a spiritual successor, but not exactly the same thing. But they're using the same name. Anyway, they came back. They announced that they're bringing back some of the old games that are not Dungeons and Dragons. They're also going to market, Giant Lands, which is a newer tabletop gaming system. They've got artwork by Larry Elmore, who did all the art for the DnD books. I mean, again, it's got the street cred. Well, immediately after they came back, people were trying to kind of throw shade at them. And Ernie Gygax did an interview on Tales from the Bunker. And he said some things that Twitter was offended by.
Oh, you can breathe and Twitter's offended. It depends who you are.
That's just it. I mean, there's nothing you can do. But he basically said that they want to appeal to old school gamers who have been disenfranchised by the direction of tabletop gaming in recent years. This is a common complaint we're hearing because it started out where it was like, let's be more inclusive and diverse. And then, but okay, fine.
It always has been.
It always has been. But according to the people on Twitter, that's not the case. According to the people on Twitter, all these nerds that they themselves were outcasts, have been gatekeeping, marginalized,
bullied, beat up, etc.
Literally, I got beat up. My friends got beat up. We got beat up. I mean, not that it had anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm just saying that's who started playing the game. And so the audience is definitely different than it was. And there was a pre-existing, I believe, bias against Gary Gygax Because for those of you who don't know, Gary Gygax had a definite conservative bent. And one of the most disgusting things I've seen come out of this whole Twitter situation is people pulling up quotes from Gary Gygax from a dead man, 20, 30 years ago, trying to paint him retroactively as this horrible bigot.
I'm more surprised that you expect anything less out of Twitter. This is what they do all the time.
This is what they do.
I love it. The same people that are like, I disowned my family because they didn't vote the way I wanted, want to judge somebody else based on their parents. But so maybe we should all judge them based on their parents. The ones they don't associate with anymore because they think they're so different from them. What if they did everything they could to disassociate their parents and they were still judged by their parents? Yeah. So that's what basically they're doing. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know the Gygaxes enough. I mean, you know more about this than I do. And I don't know them enough to say how much alike they are. But this whole idea is that you shouldn't judge me based on my parents as they go around and judge everybody based on their parents.
Well, there's a tale of multiple Gygaxes. We've got Ernie Gygax, and then we've got his brother, who's also in the tabletop RPGs. And he's basically distanced himself, I guess, from this version of TSR 2. It's a mess. Let's just put it that way.
So it's like Family Feud on top of everything else?
It kind of reminds me of the Ethan Van Sciver situation, where you've got Ethan Van Sciver, who is a target on Twitter, and then you got his brother, who kind of like distances himself, but he's
I didn't even know anything about his brother.
Yeah.
Okay,
he's got
I'll tell you what. I didn't even know that. I'll tell you what. As somebody outside looking in, here's what it looks like, okay? It looks like something that has always been inclusive. And it's like, okay, it's like at school. You're sitting at the lunch table, and then you see the new kid. New kids new kids kind of by themselves. And you're like, hey, new kid, why don't you come sit with us so you're not by yourself? And we want to make sure that, we include people. Great, cool, I will. And then the new kid comes and is like, oh, I'm bringing 5 of my friends. Can you move down? And eventually everybody moves down until they're completely kicked out of that table, and it's them and all their friends. And then they tell you to go someplace else because that's their thing now. Yeah. And that's what this is, because, for it being, their argument is it's not exclusive, or it's not inclusive enough. They are the most exclusive people I've seen. They're like, well, you need to give a statement saying that you're inclusive, as we are pissed because we want to be exclusionary towards certain groups of people. So it's like you're talking out of both sides of your face. There was one guy out there. Let me see if I can find that tweet. This guy, when I was trying to make sense of what was going on here, and this is public, so I don't think I'm don't contact anybody. Okay, we're doing the video because we're talking about public discourse. Don't contact anybody. We're just trying to make sense of the situation. But this guy was basically like, the tabletop RPG scene is ours, loving, open, and ready to keep it that way. Look out for each other badasses. It always was open. That's what I don't understand. Close ranks, shields up, and don't give an inch. Right. But then when people said that about blocking out, the people that were trying to come in and take it over, they were told that's discrimination. You're horrible people. You can't gatekeep. That's wrong. And this person, someone else had a tweet from them where they were talking about how gatekeeping is wrong and, how you'd be more inclusive as they're demanding gatekeeping when it involves them. Yeah. And it's like, I don't believe gatekeeping is right no matter what. I just don't. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't. This blows my mind. Like, look, I am very sorry. As somebody who played a lot of D&D back in the day, and I started playing D&D and then I got into 2nd edition because I'm not as old as some people. Some people were calling me out because I forgot that in 1st edition AD&D, they actually did have a strength modifier for women. Well, that's bullshit. I think they realized that early on because 2nd edition removed that. I'm not that old. I actually did not play 1st edition AD&D. I played 2nd edition AD&D and red box and blue box Dungeons and Dragons before that. Just to clarify. Anyway, so I wasn't familiar with that rule. But anyway, yeah. I mean, if you had a negative experience in the role-playing space, or you had a negative experience in the comic shop, or any other fandom, I am sorry. I am very, very sorry that happened to you. That should not have happened. My experience has been that us outcasts have been more open to letting other outcasts into our spaces. And I just keep seeing these stories come up again and again and again. And especially when it comes to D&D, they're like, well, it's just a hobby for a bunch of old white men. That was not my experience. That was not a lot of people's experiences. And, to just paint. That's the Twitter narrative. That's the narrative. Until current year, it was just a bunch of middle-aged white guys trying to keep everybody else out of the hobby. When you've literally got some of the biggest names in tabletop, where women, Margaret Wise helped create Dragonlance. I mean,
So they're digging up some stuff that Gary Gygax has said about how, they were like, why don't you make more RPGs for women? He's basically like, I think he just said, historically, women just haven't seemed that interested in it. And it seems like we haven't.
Here's what I don't understand. From my understanding, I mean, yeah, if you buy their campaigns, but from my understanding, it's always been wide open that if you take the rules, you could apply them to whatever, and people are making up their own adventures and everything else. They've always been. So this whole idea that you have to have a statement saying you're inclusive of everybody, as also they exclude everybody. They can exclude. That's okay.
Yeah.
But this whole idea that it's always been like there's only a certain group of people can play, it doesn't even make sense, because it's a wide open fantasy realm that people were using the rules to basically start out their own things all the damn time, and have been for decades. So if you and your friends wanted to play and you wanted to play certain types of characters, there was nothing stopping you from doing so. I don't understand where they get this idea that there was things that were stopping it, because from my understanding, nothing stopped you from doing it.
No, we had our one campaign we played. We actually had a younger player that was a girl, and she was a couple years younger than we were, and she wanted trains. So we put trains in the damn town, even though D&D technically probably wouldn't have had trains. We made trains. Because she wanted to have a train station.
I know a lot of people who make their comics. Well, yeah, I'm just saying, I know a lot of people make their comics based on their D&D campaign, which is actually their own thing that they came up with, and then when their friends play, I mean, it's not actually following specific book rules or anything, or following the story that was laid out. It was them making their own thing up. And you know what? They weren't straight either. They did this years ago. I'm just saying, it's just like this whole idea that I'm not understanding this idea where they're getting this concept from, that, if you like the old one, you're a straight white dude, because I don't understand this.
Well, see, okay, so that's where I had the issue with it. Now, I'm going to tell you personally, if I were TSR, and again, this is speaking from experience because we've dealt with these Twitter crazies for years. They keep you talking because they're looking for you to give yourself more rope to hang yourself with.
Even if you didn't do anything wrong, they'll find a reason to say you did something wrong.
Right. And this is the mistake, I think, in the case of like even Gina Carano. If she made a mistake, it was she kept talking. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you're just like, you cannot argue, rationalize with these people, whatever. They're trying to trip you up, not because they're hoping to cancel you. They've already canceled you. They want to be able to justify their hatred to people asking them questions like, why did you go after so-and-so? Oh, here's the Twitter thread and here's all this shit they said.
Because I've noticed that with the Gen Con, people are specifically asking them what exactly was said, examples, and they aren't giving any.
No. So let's go over here to Gen Con. So, okay, so this went down over the last couple days. There was a lot of back and forth with TSR. And look, I'm going to tell you, the people that were coming in, I don't think it was organic. A lot of them had very few followers. A lot of them had usernames like Resist and Eat the Rich. I mean, this sounds...
Old accounts.
Old accounts. And they would have like 10 or 20 or 30 followers, and they would dogpile. And they got sent in from someplace. Okay. And then it's gotten so bad that they even have like Lucasfilm authors now are dragging TSR publicly because it's the thing to do for Twitter clout.
Yes, because they're doing so well. Maybe they should spend more time working on their books and trying to make things that sell.
So Gen Con, again, Gen Con being the biggest tabletop RPG convention. Want to give you a little history lesson. Gen Con was established, and it's called Gen Con because Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, where Gary Gygax is from and where TSR Inc. was. It was established in 1968 as the Lake Geneva War Games Convention by Gary Gygax, Ernie Gygax's father. And then in 76, it became the property of TSR. And then Wizards of the Coast bought it when they absorbed the original TSR. Okay. Mm-hmm. So literally Gen Con, which was founded by Ernie Gygax's father, is saying that they're going to ban Ernie Gygax's version of TSR from attending that convention.
Now, does Hasbro still own?
Yes.
Okay, because here's the thing about Hasbro. They like to absorb fan conventions.
Yes.
Like they had the My Little Pony convention. It was going for years. It was run by fans. They took that. They had the Transformers convention that was run by fans for years.
Oh, BotCon? Yeah.
They took that. So they like to go around and take control of the con so they can control everything about everything. So it makes total sense that they would want to control Gen Con.
Well, it's curious you mentioned Hasbro. Because ICV2, which is actually, they cover the convention scene, they cover the comic scene, they cover gaming. Wizards of the Coast is not worth as much to Hasbro, apparently, as they were. Even though Dungeons & Dragons and Magic are selling supposedly very well, there have been rumblings that Hasbro is going to wash their hands of them.
I wonder why. Could it be all the political bullshit? They don't want to deal with it?
Yeah, Hasbro is cleaning up loose ends in preparation for selling off Wizards of the Coast. Consider the following points. This is coming from insiders. Now, I trust ICV2 implicitly. They've actually proven time and time again that they have the industry insiders they claim to have. They're strictly about numbers. They don't let their personal feelings get in the way of that. It's all about the numbers. And their insiders, like I said, are legit. They trust them with the comic book industry and with tabletop gaming.
Oh, you mean it's like real journalism?
Like real journalism.
Okay, cool.
They said Hasbro never wanted to deal with Dungeons & Dragons or Magic. For decades, Hasbro focused on developing its own IP or acquiring other licenses to long-lasting properties. And if you've been in the industry a long time, you'll remember that Wizards of the Coast started off as a third-party creator of fancy RPG-compatible supplements. And then they were doing, they're talking about Pokemon and all that. Hasbro knows board games. If you remember earlier this year, Hasbro opted to move the Wizards of the Coast board game lines from Wizards of the Coast to the parent company. At the time, I was more interested in the effect of the move on the profit margins. So basically, they're moving stuff around.
So they're keeping what they want and the stuff I think is going to make money and then trying to get rid of the rest.
Yep, cleaning up the company. They're cleaning house, curbside appeal. If Hasbro is wanting to shop the company around, it would be a much easier sell without outstanding contracts into which Wizards of the Coast had entered. And they talked about the Dragonlance lawsuit, which is a huge mess. And they're talking about how they're getting, they've gotten pushback from black authors, I guess, or a black author working for Wizards of the Coast.
Problem solved. TSR buys it.
That is. So who would buy it? They said, I don't think they have the money for it, though. But yeah.
They can get a bunch of people together and just buy it.
Who would buy the company? I can think of a number of companies that would like to buy it, but none, at least that I know of, have the cash flow available. Publishing RPGs is not a path to riches. However, the successful sale of Asmodee in 2018 to a private equity firm, oh God, that's a kiss of death, indicates there is interest. So this is coming, okay, so TSR is coming back, or at least...
I just took this in a whole other direction than he even planned.
Yeah, this is interesting, though. TSR is coming back. Right before, or right after, around the time that they made the announcement that this version of TSR is coming back. Again, not the exact same company, but a lot of the same people that were involved. All of a sudden, you start seeing all these articles appear about how wildly successful Dungeons & Dragons has become with its current direction. Not
kind of like a Crunchyroll everybody saying it was going to be sold, and all of a sudden these articles started appearing about, Crunchyroll's doing great.
Yeah.
We're fantastic. Thanks. How are you?
So keep this in mind. Keep this in mind that just 7 months ago, there were rumblings that Hasbro is trying to clean up Wizards of the Coast to sell them because they don't want to be bothered with Dungeons and Dragons and Magic.
So maybe now's not a good time to be starting battles.
Yeah, so Gen Con, now started by Gary Gygax, owned by TSR, now owned by Wizards of the Coast, puts a statement out. Gen Con's not associated with TSR Games. And while we don't support their recent statements, the foundation of Gen Con is tied with the history of TTRPGs. The history being Gary Gygax started this damn con. And his son is the one.
Saying you're not associated, okay, I understand, because people might misunderstand that. And then saying it's tied to them. But then this. Our goal is to build off the good, acknowledge the bad, and work towards the present free from racism, misogyny, and homophobia. Unless you're being sexist against white men, racist against white men, etc., then that's okay. If you truly were trying to be against racism, misogyny, and homophobia, you wouldn't keep going on about, this because they're for like the old people who are white men.
This is not helping Hasbro. Hasbro, if you're listening, okay, because I want to put this out there about Gen Con. Gen Con is the convention that one of their vendors punched Jeremy Hambley, the quartering, punched him in the head at Gen Con. That was outside of the convention. Right.
Yeah, but make sure that's clear.
Yeah,
it was outside the convention.
To be very clear, it was in a bar outside the convention. But, a lot of people were calling for Gen Con to do something or say something or something, and they just basically turned a blind eye to the whole situation. You know,
You probably know what to say or do, and the lawyers probably said, "Don't say anything."
Yeah. Anyway, so I think I don't know where that situation stands, but I think Hambly is or was banned. He might have even been banned before because
I don't even know.
He got into it with some Magic the Gathering judges or something. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, this whole scene is, to put it mildly, very, very different than it was back in the day. And that's not the diversity and inclusion element. It's the
toxic element?
The toxic element.
For people that are trying to combat toxicity, sure have an awful lot of it. And that's what I don't understand. I'm just like, look, I think in the world where you're trying to make friends and you're trying
to make friends. Nobody's trying to make friends.
No. In a world where people are trying to make friends.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy because in this day and age, everything's online and people are losing the ability to connect with other people. If you have the opportunity to play with other people and play a game that you like, and it's you and your friends, I don't understand why they're getting so bent out of shape, ass mad about this, because they're not actually at your game. You know what I mean? It's like if you and your two gay friends and your sister and her friend, and they all want to play this game and they want to play it by the old rules. I don't understand why it's their business, or why can't they both exist? There's no other reason to get this ass mad about it other than you're afraid of competition.
Well, okay, so this is what's curious. Well, first I'm going to show you where they actually banned it.
All right.
Because we keep getting off, but that's
I'm sorry,
okay.
this is what I do.
No, this whole situation stinks to high heaven.
Have you played one of these games? You're always all over the damn place. I'm just staying true.
This whole situation from day one has stunk to high heavens.
Mm-hmm.
And when you factor in the potential sale from Hasbro, and you factor in all these PR pieces that are coming out, and you factor in the fact that interview was on a channel, no offense, to the people running the channel, but it was something you would have to go looking for specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to spend time pouring. It wasn't
like... That's like our videos half the time. You have to go looking for it specifically.
So somebody was out there basically stalking Ernie GYGAX, trying to, catch him saying something that I believe that would paint the entire company in a negative light so they could go running to Twitter with it. And because at the time, that interview only had like 1,000, 2,000 views. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like it was widely circulated.
It is weird.
It's very weird. Anyway, so Twitter, they're saddling on up to Gen Con. The question remains, are they invited to have a booth? My business will not share space with TSR, and your attendees will not want it either.
Well, a lot of people said speak for yourself on that one.
Yeah. Well, no, it gets worse. So Gen Con says, no, they don't have a booth, nor are they running any events. So that means... plausible deniability.
Well, of course they don't. They don't want the competition there.
But wait, there's more. Could they, though? Are they permitted to attend? If so, this answer is still inefficient. We would deny them if they applied, yes.
I know also people kept asking them for specific examples of what was said that was so bad, and they wouldn't give them any.
They tried to basically say that his implication was that he was transphobic.
Well, their implication is that they're racist and misogynist and phobic then.
So TSR put another statement out. This is coming from the current CEO.
Oh, TSR, stop tweeting.
And they put a statement out before. This is the thing. Look, if TSR made one huge tactical error, right? It's in your name. If you made a huge tactical error, it was actually engaging these people, because clearly they do not have a lot of experience dealing with Twitter cancellation mobs. What they do, and I'm all for defending yourself, but when they have you in the crosshairs, the more you say, the more rope you give them.
Just step over them and talk about the game and what you're going to be doing and all that.
Well, they tried to, and then they started,
Well, just let them. Just mute them. Or block them or whatever, just step over them.
So this is a statement coming from the CEO, and everything they say now is they're getting dogpiled. We here at TSR are very passionate about gamers and gaming.
By the number of comments, I wouldn't count that as dogpiling.
Well, it was worse earlier.
And half of them are probably like the same person, just in different accounts.
We don't mean to offend or attack. And the weird thing is, nobody really, the mainstream doesn't even know or care that TSR is back. Mm-hmm. TSR only means something to tabletop nerds, right? Because right now the brand is Dungeons and Dragons. Like TSR made other games in the 80s.
And the only reason people care is because of Critical Role. Let's be honest here. That is the only damn reason people care.
And Stranger Things now.
Yeah, Stranger Things. Well, Stranger Things was the old game.
It was
the
TSR. They were playing TSR D&D.
People only care now because Critical Role has made it like the fashionable thing. It's kind of like, you know, when they had Glee. When I was a kid, if you were in the band or whatever, you were considered the biggest dork ever. Now, if you're like in the band or in a singing group or something, oh, well, you're the cool kids because Glee or because of, you know, whatever movie or show. And that's kind of like what happened with Critical Role.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's fashionable, so they all wanted to be part of it now.
They glammed it up and they attracted a different audience, and everybody has always been welcome. Well, they said that. They said everyone's welcome at our gaming table.
Always been that way.
Yep, but we will not tolerate rude, hateful, or disrespectful. People are bots.
I agree with you. I wouldn't tolerate that anyway.
You will be banned, blocked, and ignored. We ask our fans to do the same and stop fueling the lies and start focusing on the future.
And they'll probably say, how dare you? As they turn around and literally say, well, now I know who to block. Ha, ha, ha. All the damn time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, payback's a bitch.
The slander and misrepresentations are deplorable, hurtful, and disgusting, both for my team, our heritage, and this fine art form that all people love. Thanks for joining us in the journey and bringing TSR back. That's not going to be good enough. But again, this is a tempest in a teapot. Very few people in the mainstream even know TSR is coming back, even know of TSR outside of D&D. And it's basically, that's what I'm saying. Like, if this Twitter mob descended, somebody sent them from someplace.
Right, exactly.
Somebody sent them.
Who benefits the most? At the end of the day, if you don't like it, don't play it. I don't understand. You know, and if it comes out and there's really bad, shitty things in it, then just don't buy it.
Yeah, let the product stand on its own. Now, if you don't want to support it, that's on you. Like,
that's fine. You don't have to.
We weren't going to touch the TSR situation again. The only reason I'm touching it now is that I can't...
He can't keep his fingers off things. No.
I can't. The only reason I'm touching it now is because I can't believe that Gen Con, founded by Gary Gygax, is banning Ernie Gygax and a lot of people who were associated with the original D&D. Like, this is the world we live in. Mm-hmm. And it happens so quickly.
Until they need something a couple years from now, and then suddenly that, if it, you know, when everything changes again, and they're all pissed about being against something else, they'll change it for that too.
Yeah, so this is just welcome to 2021, I guess. And I said, yeah, next part is when everybody scrambles to distance themselves from TSR to save their own asses, keep their Twitter clout. So
here's the surprise: Twitter clout doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It really doesn't.
So we'll see what happens. But I'm sure the tabletop media is going to be like, well, did you know that TSR Games, which is Gary Gygax,
100%. That's what they always do.
They're banned because they're so bad. But thank God gaming's evolved beyond them. People have literally said that gaming's evolved beyond Gary Gygax and his transphobic
in what way?
Children. Huh?
Was there actually rules in the thing that said you couldn't be trans and play the game?
Nope.
They keep going about transphobia, and I'm like, where? I don't understand that. And I mean, this is somebody looking outside, looking in. I'm watching this, I'm like, I don't understand where you're getting this from. I just don't.
Again, I guess on behalf of straight white male nerds that in my circle, if you felt excluded from the gaming table, I am very sorry. I never excluded you. I know most 99.999% of people that I hung out with in comic shops and gaming stores, they wouldn't have excluded you. So I don't know where the hell you were playing, but I'm so sorry that those are the people you found, that was your first introduction to gaming.
But anybody could pick it up and go play with their friends.
Yeah.
They could go find the people they want to play with and go do that. They do it all the time.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Like literally police every game ever? Oh, our sensors are indicating someone's opening a book. Better make sure we go and make sure that it's diverse enough when they're playing with their friends.
Well, that's what this is about. It's about control. Basically, a new audience moved in.
It always is. It's about control.
A new audience moved in the last like 5 or 6 years with Tabletop, and it on the Venn diagram, it's Twitter and Tumblr and that whole scene, and they've decided to become the gatekeepers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's funny to me because they go on about we need to be inclusive. And they literally are flat out saying, we're including everyone but these people. And I'm like, but that's the antithesis of being fucking inclusive. I'm sorry, but it is.
We're slamming the creator of Dungeons and Dragons, using this opportunity to drag a dead man's name through the mud while celebrating the thing he created. You commandeered something he created. It blows my mind. This is going to happen. We just said about this with Walt Disney too. This is probably going to happen with him at some point too.
I'm betting.
They're going to distance themselves from Walt
They're
Disney.
going to call themselves a Disney company.
Yeah, they'll take his statue down. they'll find an opportunity to take a statue down because they'll be like, well, we're so much more than what Walt Disney was. It's like, you wouldn't have a fucking job.
Yeah.
None of you people would be playing tabletop games if it wasn't for Gary Gygax, okay? So you don't have to like his politics. You don't have to agree with everything he said, but you at least owe him that much respect. You know,
I'm just tired of it. I just can't sit here as somebody looking at this and listening to the bullshit of, well, we need to be, we don't tolerate hatred and bigotry, and we include everyone except for all you people. I just can't. The irony and the ridiculousness is just ridiculous.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
Please, why is dog meat trending?
I don't want to know. Don't even look.
Okay.
I don't want to know. I'll cry.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.